Good afternoon. This is Beth Malinowski with the California Primary Care Association, spending some time with you today to talk a bit about our recent victory, in successfully getting our state to make a significant new investment in our state's primary care workforce. The recently signed California budget for fiscal year 16-17 includes an astonishing commitment to $100 million, all to go towards primary care workforce. Now, we couldn't have had this victory alone. We worked with our partners at CMA, California Medical Association, and CAF, the California Academy of Family Physicians, as well as partners at CHA, Planned Parenthood, and a number of other statewide associations to send a strong message to Governor Brown and state leadership that this year we needed to commit to our primary care workforce. With that in mind, I'm going to start off today by walking you through the victory, what we've won, and how that funding will get allocated. Then spend a little bit of time at the end talking about implementation and how CPCA will be preparing you for success. So as I've already shared, the recently signed budget for our fiscal year 16-17 includes a $100 million commitment to support and expand primary care residency programs and help recruit physicians to practice in medically underserved areas. Now, this $100 million commitment will actually be funded over a period of 3 years with an initial investment of $33.3 million in this year's 16-17 budget, followed by additional investments of the same amount, $33.3 million in 17-18, and a final $33.3 million in fiscal year 18-19, we'll see a total investment of $100 million to be appropriated to OSHPD, our Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development. Now, these funds will get appropriated to OSHPD over 3 years. The majority of these funds will pass through the Song-Brown Workforce Training Program, and $1 million of these funds will go towards the State Loan Repayment Program, also administered by OSHPD. Now, it's important to note is that though the investment will be appropriated over 3 years, OSHPD will actually have 6 years to use these funds. Now, the timing of this investment could not be any better. The need could not be any greater. In fact, we were on the verge of facing more than $60 million in cuts to residency program funding due to the expiration of federal funding, as well as the drying up of some private foundation grants as well. Now, it's because of these confluence of events that we were able to pull together such a strong coalition to work on this funding. And this funding should go a long way. And so I'm going to take a few minutes right now to break down this funding. Many questions have been raised about where does this go? Who's this really going to help? And so let's take a few minutes to walk through that. For starters, there's $60 million that's going to support existing primary care residency programs. In addition to that $60 million, another $17 million is going to go to support our existing teaching health center primary care residency programs. Now, on the expansion side, we're going to see nearly $20 million, $10 million to expand residency slots at existing primary care programs, and $10 million to create new primary care residency programs. Additionally, we should note that we know it's going to take a lot of time and effort from our partners at OSHPD to administer these funds. So $2 million of this $100 million is to support our partners at OSHPD as they staff and administer these new funds. Lastly, as I've mentioned before, $1 million is getting set aside to support our state loan repayment program. With this in mind, I'm going to walk us through those funding dollars in a bit more detail. Now, some might be asking, why $60 million to support existing primary care residency programs? Well, as I already noted, we had an incredible opportunity right now to send a strong message that we wanted to continue the great residency programs that already exist in our state. Because of loss of federal dollars, as well as the loss of some foundation funding and other private foundation dollars, there is a risk of some of our state's residency programs that are based at hospitals partner with or based at academic institutions, that they were at risk of having to, slow down their programs, possibly even get rid of some of their slots. And so this $60 million goes to support and maintain the infrastructure of primary care residency that we've got within our state. Now, it's important to note some of these $60 million is going to go towards programs that some of our health centers are already touching. And what I mean by that is some of these $60 million are going to support residency programs that some of our health centers partner with through partnerships with local hospitals or academic institutions. It's important to also note, under the current Song-Brown Commission, our teaching health centers that are located at our member FQHCs also benefit from Song-Brown and this existing funds. Now, talking about those teaching health centers, it's important to note that they were at risk of seeing a 40% reduction in funding. And this is due to a slowdown in federal funding to support the program. Now, while we continue our work to increase federal funding to support the program, we knew it was absolutely time for our state to invest dollars too. And so we're very excited to see the state setting aside $17 million that are just to support our existing teaching health center primary care residency programs. Well, there are nearly 60 programs across the country. There are 6 right here in our backyard in California. And these funds are go to support them, to make sure that incredible investment that they've made, that we've all made in the future of community health, doesn't get lost. Now, in addition to the funds to support our existing programs, as I mentioned, there is an additional money going towards expansion, recognizing that we need more folks getting trained in our setting, more folks getting trained in primary care and family medicine in our state. With that in mind, there's $10 million that's going to be set aside to expand residency slots at existing primary care programs. What I mean by that is many of our primary care programs might have only 2, 4, 6, 10 residency slots in any given cohort. With these funds, we're hopeful that some of our residency programs in California may choose to expand. Maybe they only have 4 residents right now, but going forward, maybe they'll go ahead and have 6 residents in each year. And so again, this gets at our goal of expanding the number of individuals that are getting trained in our state and getting trained in a setting that we know will lead to great practice for our health center patients. Additionally, $10 million are going to go to create new primary care residency programs. Now, we think this is just tremendous. This is the most significant investment our state has ever made in a brand new primary care residency program. In fact, we know from surveying many of you that there's a strong interest among our health centers to start residency programs. Some of you have already reached out to accrediting bodies and are already thinking about what are the steps you need to do as a health center to be ready to have residents. We are hopeful that these funds will be used by all of you as you walk down that path. As I've mentioned before, I do want to note that $2 million of the $100 million again will go to support our partners at OSHPD as they implement these funds. And lastly, $1 million will go to supporting the state loan repayment program. Now, $1 million might not seem like a lot of money, but in fact, this is one of the most significant investments our state's made in loan repayment in some time. And we know that loan repayment is an incredibly helpful tool for us to have when we are looking to bring new providers into our doors and keep those providers that we have staying committed to our health centers. I will note, in addition to the $1 million that will be going from the general fund, CMSP has also chosen to invest in state loan repayment this year. And so between the new investments from the CMSP program and this new investment, we believe over the next few years, over $4 million are going to go towards supporting state loan repayment programs. Now, that's a quick overview of the funding dollars. We know that many of you have got questions. With that, I want you to know that myself and my colleague, Natalie Diaz, are available to you to answer any questions you may have. Additionally, with assistance from members, we've put together a robust FAQ. That FAQ is being updated regularly and is housed on our CPCA website. We'll provide you a link to that resource at the end of this presentation. Feel free to check it out and see if your questions are being answered there. It has both a section dedicated to residency funding as well as a section dedicated to the state loan repayment program dollars. Additionally, I want to share a bit with you about what we are prepared to do to help you be successful in accessing these dollars. First off, I'd say our work is just beginning. While we've just been successful in getting a substantial investment for primary care, we know the work now needs to continue with administrative advocacy and work with the Song-Brown Commission to make sure that they are implementing the funds in a way that we know is best suited to meet our needs. We look forward to doing that in partnership with many of the same organizations that worked with us to secure these dollars, and doing this in partnership with all of you. We recognize that many of you are just at the beginning of thinking through whether or not an investment in residency is the right thing. With that in mind, our team here at CPCA is in the process of putting together a first residency readiness training. This is a training unlike any other CPCA has done before, and it's really geared towards helping health centers think through whether or not it's right for them, whether or not residency is right for their community. While we don't have a formal date yet, we are hopeful that this first residency readiness training might happen the last week in September. We'll keep you posted as we learn more, and please keep an eye out on our marketing materials to see whether or not our first residency readiness program is available for you. So again, want to thank everyone for their time today and appreciate all of your hard work that has gotten us to this point. It took the work of the whole association and many of your community partners to succeed in getting $100 million to support primary care workforce. Again, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me or my colleague, Natalie Diaz.